Hey, everybody, welcome back to episode number 2 of the How to Stop Craving podcast. So, before we even learn about cravings and what it means to have a craving, how to stop them, we actually have to know first what hunger is. And that sounds a little like funny, right? Like you think that most of us understand hunger. It seems like this thing that most people know, right? Well, the thing is, before I went on this journey and before I became a certified life and weight loss coach, I didn't even know what hunger truly was. I didn't know what hunger really felt like to me. And I'm going to share with you why that was. And I'm going to share with you that there's actually 3 different kinds of hunger that you guys have to be able to distinguish if you want to be able to manage cravings sustainably and for the long run. All right. So the first thing I want you to think about before I start is I want you to think about, even take a moment to write this down if you're not driving or anything like that. Pull out a piece of paper and write down what you think hunger is. And really take a moment, pause this video, and just write down what it feels like to you. All right, really take a time to even think about it, okay? If you're not able to write it down, think about this in the car or wherever you are. Okay, so I hope you did that. When I do ask you to do something throughout this series, I do invite you to do it in the middle of the podcast for the best effect so you can learn how to apply this in your life in real time. So anyway, think of what hunger feels like to you. Okay, what did you write down? I know for me, for a long time, I thought hunger was this very loud, very uncomfortable sensation in my stomach. I often associated it with this grumbling, kind of low energy, shaky, weak kind of sensation that just felt like literally the world was ending. It felt so terrible. And I want to show you like what my experience was like for a long time. So as I was working in the hospital, which I still do, but I don't eat this way anymore. But before, I would have a cereal, kashi cereal, if anybody eats or used to eat kashi. I would have a bowl of kashi cereal in the morning at 4 a.m. And then I'd be at work by 7 a.m. I would be starving already by 5 a.m. Like I'd literally feel like I just had no more energy. Like I just felt like this hollow sensation in my stomach, like that grumbling. You could hear the stomach grumbling, right? And I felt even if I went on a few hours later, I would kind of start sweating. I would feel maybe a little hot, like all of that. And it was terrible. So did my experience sound like anything you wrote down? Yes or no? And so what I want you to know is what kind of hunger that actually was, because that's actually not true physical hunger. That sensation that I just described is something called sugar withdrawal hunger. And this is the type of hunger that most people experience because most people, at least I'm in America, but I know most people, a lot of people actually around the world, primarily eat a diet that is composed of carbohydrates, okay? And, when we think of carbs, it includes all of it, like the rice, the bread, the pasta, and also the sweets. Also, whatever other treats and things you have throughout the day, whatever drinks and smoothies and things like that, fruits, all of it are what can contribute to that sugar withdrawal hunger. And here's why. So if you eat a diet that is based on primarily carbohydrates, it is filling up an energy storage space in your liver called glycogen. And so that amount of sugar that's stored in your glycogen is only filled up to so much. So it's kind of like how Dr. Jason Fung, he describes it as a wallet. It's kind of like you put some cash in your wallet. If you need energy or if you need cash, you just take the money out of the wallet, and that's your body's way of giving you energy from sugar or from carbohydrates. But when you take that energy out, when you take that money out, it just makes your energy level drop, and it just makes it drop really quickly because you metabolize that energy very, very efficiently. Okay, and when that happens, that's when you feel that drop, that sensation of fatigue and tiredness and hangriness. Okay, so that is sugar withdrawal hunger. The irritability, the weakness, the sweatiness, the shakiness, all of that stuff. So just know that that does not have to be your hunger if you go low carb, and I'm going to explain why. So that's the first kind of hunger, the sugar withdrawal hunger. And that's what occurs when you're a carb burner or sugar burner. You metabolize glucose primarily for your energy. The next kind of hunger is what I call the true physical hunger. So this is the one that is what hunger actually feels like. And this will take some time. If you're starting this low carb way of eating, the sugar-free way of eating, it may be, this is what's most challenging for most of my clients in the beginning. We're so out of touch with our sensations in our body that we don't know what true hunger feels like until you've eaten low carb or sugar-free for several weeks or maybe even months. So basically how I describe true physical hunger is that it is a gradual, subtle feeling. It comes and goes in waves. It is not loud, it's not grumbly, it's actually very subtle. And so this occurs when your body is fat adapted, meaning that you're burning your energy primarily from your own fat on your body instead of carbs and instead of glucose from eating primarily sugars and carbohydrates. So it's not, so your body has learned how to get energy from your own fat instead of from your liver's glycogen. Instead, your body bypasses that process altogether and it learns how to make glucose from your own fat. And that's the beauty of being fat adapted. You don't go through that same drop in energy that you do when you have the sugar withdrawal hunger. It is so much more steady and stable. Like, just think about it. Think of all the fat on your body right now. Okay, the one that I often think of is the one under my arms or the one like under my chin, the one into my butt. Like, think of all that fat. The only thing fat is potential energy. It's future energy. It's like energy waiting to be used by your body. It's waiting. It's like, as Dr. Jason Fung describes it, it's like a bank account. So remember, we said liver, the glycogen stores in your liver is like a wallet, but the fat on your body is like a bank account. It's like your savings account. Okay, so remember, if you have to get cash from the bank, you have to drive all the way to the bank. You have to probably fall in line or go to an ATM machine, pull out the money. So it's much more cumbersome, right? But that's the thing. Once your body is trained to be fat adapted, once you eat low carb or you eat primarily fats for fuel, your body will learn how to make glucose from fat. And so your body won't be going through that whole dipping glucose process as it does in sugar withdrawal hunger. So when you're fat adapted, you'll know you are because you'll be able to not eat for easily 12 to 16 hours. And I would say by that time, if you're able to not eat comfortably, like fast comfortably for 12 to 16 hours, you are likely fat adapted and you are likely going to experience that true physical hunger. All right, and now the last kind of hunger, which I think most people actually don't know about at all, because this isn't a very, it's not a very clear sensation, okay? It's very, there's a lot of myths about this one, so I'm going to explain that all. So the third kind of hunger is emotional hunger. So emotional hunger, what does that mean, right? Like anytime we think of emotional eating, what's the image that comes up for you? Well, I'm sure most of you probably are thinking of maybe a girl who just broke up with her boyfriend and she's eating the gallon of ice cream and she's crying and the mascara is falling down her face and all that stuff. Like kind of like exaggerated emotional eater. Okay, the one who just eats all the ice cream when she or he is upset. Okay. And why is it a she, by the way? Like, men cry too. But anyway, so that is what most people think is emotional eating. Okay. But what I want to offer is that emotional eating, like how I define it, and this definition has been very useful to me. And I encourage you to think about it this way as an offer. But the way I define emotional eating is anytime you eat for any other reason besides simply fueling your body. And by fueling your body, I mean just eating the amount of food you need just for your body to do its regular body things, like keep you alive, breathe, help you move, and like the bare minimum you need to survive, basically. And what do you need to survive? The only thing you need to eat to survive every meal is just proteins, veggies, and fats. And that's it. And I know the veggie thing's a little questionable, but just bear with me for the sake of this conversation. Proteins, veggies, and fats. Okay? That's it. Like, we don't need sugar. We actually don't even need carbohydrates. They're saying now that carbohydrates are not an essential macronutrient for our body. The only essential macronutrients we need are proteins and fats, because those are essential for our survival, basically. We need fats and proteins to live. But anyway, we don't need carbs to survive. Anyway, but that's the thing. If you eat that for fuel only, everything else is actually emotional. And what I mean by that is we use food so much for emotional reasons to avoid feeling a certain way. Think about that. Like, think about a time maybe that you were at work and then you already had your lunch at noon, but in the afternoon, somebody came and surprised you guys with a basket of cookies or something. Like, I know for me as a nurse, that was always something there. Cookies, cakes, donuts. There would always be something in the break room, especially in the afternoon, which is like the time that people crave food a lot, very commonly. So anyway, think about that, right? Like, you already had breakfast, you already had lunch. So why do you reach for the cookie? Right? Like, most likely it is because you're wanting to eat to avoid a certain emotion. And for me, I know it was because I wanted to avoid feeling stressed. And a lot of nurses, I'm only saying nurses because this was just the only work that I've done primarily most of my life. I think this is a phenomenon that occurs in most workplaces. But a lot of nurses who wouldn't be working throughout the day, if they already finished their tasks for the day, I would see a lot of them snacking in the unit like nonstop. Like, I would see them eating protein bars, nuts. Like, some people would just be eating nonstop, even though they already had their meals for the day. So I define that as emotional eating. You feel you're eating for any other reason besides fueling your body. Okay, so again, just as a recap, the 3 kinds of hunger. 1 is sugar withdrawal hunger, the loud, grumbly one. 2, true physical hunger, subtle and gradual. And 3, emotional hunger, which is when you eat for any reason besides fueling your body. So that's boredom, for stress, for anxiety, entertainment. Any time you snack, that is emotional eating. All right, you guys. So in the next few episodes, I'm going to dive into all these different hungers. I'm going to help you have a tool to distinguish what kind of hunger you're feeling so that's simple and easy for you. Because I know learning this is one thing, but you got to learn how to actually distinguish it and apply it to your daily life so you're not overeating constantly and you're not eating impulsively, which this podcast is all about. All right, you guys, so thanks for tuning in. If you want to be updated in all my future episodes, please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below. And you could also click the little bell so you could be notified when my new videos come out. All right, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in today's episode. And I really want you to think about that. Ask yourself, get in the habit of asking yourself, what kind of hunger am I feeling right now? And leave a comment below to tell me which one you are feeling right now. All right, you guys, thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.